Hello, everyone. Welcome to Toolkit Talks, Joy in Work, Webinar 3. My name is Jennifer Smith, and I'm with the Colorado Alliance for Resilient and Equitable Systems, serving the healthcare and public health workforce. So the Joy in Work Toolkit was created by the National Association of County and City Health Officials using the Institute for Healthcare Improvements framework for improving joy in work. So today, this is video 3. The first 2 videos were, we did an introduction. We gave the purpose and principles of the toolkit and some pre-work to get you started and familiar with the toolkit. And then the second video was getting ready and preparing for having conversations and starting the toolkit. And then today we're going to be going into step 1 of the toolkit where you're asking staff, what matters to you? And then we're going to have 2 more videos that will be coming up. So step 2 will be the next one where we identify impediments to joy in work in the local context or those barriers. And then the next video will be steps 3 and 4. So you're going to commit to a systems approach to making joy in work a shared responsibility at all levels of the organization. And then we're going to talk about testing approaches to improving joy in work in your organization. So now we'll go ahead and get ready to start the toolkit and just kind of keep in mind, the topic is always joy in work. So we're always just trying to keep in mind the concept of the toolkit, which is to bring joy in work into your organization, into your facility, into your team, and doing it together as a team and figuring out how to do this so that everyone is involved in the change that is going to happen. So here are the steps in the Joy in Work Toolkit. So this is the original framework by IHI. The first step is to ask the question, what matters to you, which we're going to talk about today. And then again, like I said, we're going to go into the next few videos. We'll be identifying the unique impediments to joy in work, committing to a systems approach to make sure everyone is taking responsibility for the improvements, and then testing your approaches. So making sure that things are working as you expected them to. So the first step is asking staff what matters to you. You're going to start with 2 key points. Asking the right questions and really listening to the answers, and identifying what contributes to or detracts from joy in work for staff. The next step relies heavily on trusting relationships and assumes leaders know how to listen. This is why in the first 2, I'd say, webinars, we really talked about communication, active listening skills, and how to improve trust, how to improve psychological safety so that you build that trust. Even if it was lost, you build it back, and then you know how to listen and you know how to really start this process, because the entire joy in work process is about communication and teamwork. So, how do we build and or repair trust at work? Employee trust must be earned. So you need to be open and honest about changes that will impact the staff. You need to effectively communicate by talking with staff, not at them, but with them. And you need to have an open door policy. You need to follow up with people, and you need to be willing to pitch in to help. So again, in the next webinar, we'll be talking about how to make sure everyone has their job to do and everyone knows that everyone's taking a part in creating change and creating the joy in work. You're going to make sure that you're following up with people. So when you are talking with staff and you are asking them these questions, you're following up and making sure they know that you're really listening to them and you're looking into things that they ask or have questions for. Even if you're not able to fix the problem, you're at least following up with them and letting them know why. Again, being open and honest. Changes can be hard. Changes are difficult. But as long as you're making sure that you're communicating, you're open and honest, people will take the changes a lot better. So how are you going to be working on trust? Really, you're going to want to build trust by working on yourself first. So you really do have to take some accountability for restoring trust instead of waiting for someone else to change. So make sure you understand that that is something that you need to do yourself, and see the other person or people in a new light as though they are trying to do their best. So this is kind of a restart, right? You're going to say, hey, whatever happened in the past, we're starting over, and I am wiping the slate clean, and I'm going to make sure that I look at you in a positive light, that I think that you are trying to do your best and you're trying to help. We each believe our view or version of a situation is the truth. So accept that their view of the situation can also be the truth, even if it conflicts with yours. This is a very hard concept to realize and to understand, but you need to really work on it, I think, of understanding how everyone's viewpoints are very different depending on where they're coming from and depending on their past, how they've been treated in the past, how, what their work environments have looked like, their family view, their cultures, their, backgrounds. Everyone's going to view things differently. So make sure that you're just having an open mind with this. And all of this is going to require you to give up a bit of your ego, which is not easy to do. We definitely have our egos that kind of hold us back in a lot of situations and are really hard to change. So make sure that you're just kind of putting that down a little, putting that aside, and just having a little bit of humility and a little bit of just understanding with every situation. So psychological safety, we did touch on this in earlier videos. IHI's definition of psychological safety is people feeling secure and capable of changing, and they believe that no one will be humiliated or punished for speaking up. Psychological safety encourages respectful interactions from everyone. It's focused on equity. It invites participation. It uses direct and clear language. It's meaning you have to be accessible and approachable. You have to set boundaries about acceptable and unacceptable behavior and hold others accountable for boundary violations. So, this is something you should definitely talk with your staff or your team about, and your colleagues. Pretty much everyone in the facility needs to have a conversation around psychological safety and what it means to them. I think this is a very good definition from IHI, but everyone might have their own differences in that depending on where they're coming from. But make sure that you do talk about this, you are direct about it, it's clear, everyone understands it, and everyone's invited to participate. And you can even set those boundaries and write them down so that everybody is aware of them, and make sure that we are holding people accountable for any of those violations. So when to have the what matters to you conversation. So really, they're saying it can be anytime. You can do it through communication updates, change updates, information about joy and work. You can, you know, make sure you're updating in huddles, communication boards, surveys, regular staff meetings, and more informal meetings. What works in one setting may not work in another, and it's up to leaders to find methods that work best for their colleagues, and it fits into the daily or weekly workflow. So any changes that come up, make sure you're sending them out. Maybe it's an email. Maybe you do that in your morning huddle. Maybe you do both, so that the people who are visual can take a look. The people who like to hear things can hear them in a huddle. Having communication boards, if you don't have one, you can set one up. You can also have more informal meetings. Maybe you're trying to do regular meetings with staff one-on-one or something like that. So you can go over the changes and any updates at that time. So the conversation, so you're going to ask questions to tap into strengths, bright spots, or what's already working in the organization. So, like we said before, you're going to kind of focus on some of the positive. So make sure you're writing all this down and making sure you're really focusing on these bright spots and strengths by asking what makes for a good day for you, what makes you proud to work here, when we're at our best, what does that look like? And those questions are going to set the context for asking what gets in the way of a good day or what makes for a bad day, right? Like we said, the negative stuff will always come up, but focusing on positive can really help lead to what really we should work on to strengthen. And then by identifying components that contribute to a bad day, leaders and colleagues share the problems and ultimately the solutions, which creates a sense of we're in this together. And that's what you really want to focus on, that team aspect of we're doing this together as a team. I'm here with you. So the conversation. So while leaders may not take an immediate action on all issues, the conversation establishes a place to start to make the work environment and community work better. Through this process, leaders can begin to identify assets and bright spots on which to build, as well as defects in the system that might be improved. So again, you're going to automatically find the defects and the problems by focusing on the bright spots and the good things. Leaders work together to facilitate change, build relationships, and employ a participative management style. So the conversation, again, things are going to come up. You're going to want to make sure you're writing everything down, recording it, taking notes, because you want to make sure you're remembering the things. And it might be that issues come up and you're going to have a long list of things to review and to look into. But as long as you're doing them one at a time and getting back to people about them and updating them, then this should be fine. It's a process, right? It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to be immediate. There may be some immediate things that you can do, like we talked about in the last one. Maybe they're just easy fixes, but most of the time it will be a process to start this. But this is just the conversation. So this is just talking, learning, and becoming more of a team and getting people used to having these conversations and being part of the process. So some things that you can do are ask a colleague who is a skilled facilitator to co-lead the conversations in team meetings. So if you know somebody who's really skilled at getting the attention of the group and people really enjoy listening to, ask them to give you a hand and help you out with the conversations in some of these meetings, at least at first. Talk about the purpose of the conversation and why you are interested in what matters to staff. So let them know that you are concerned and you hear, concerns. You see people are stressed or burnt out or things aren't working well, and you found the joy in work toolkit. Let them look at the toolkit and get everyone really involved in why you're doing this. And then share a story about what matters to you and what makes a good day for you. You may have to start that conversation and really kind of open up and talk about your issue or your issues and what matters to you and what brings joy and work to you to get people more comfortable with speaking their truth as well. And then some things you don't want to do. So don't assume you know what others are thinking or experiencing. And don't promise to fix everything. Again, everything's not going to be able to be solved. So don't make promises that you don't know you can keep. And don't do this as a one-time activity. You really should take this as a process and do this all throughout the year. You should just be something that you just start doing. And maybe again, once a lot of these things are fixed and a lot of things have changed, for the better, maybe you don't have to do it as often, but you should still be doing this, maybe a couple times a year. And don't only talk to those who are positive and avoid the negative voices. Sometimes that's hard to hear when things, just aren't really good or somebody's just really not happy and has a lot of negative stuff. But I think once you hear them and they know that you're working and trying to help things, I think you'll see that they maybe change their tune a little bit and things are easier. And you do need to hear those negative things as well as the positive, even though it can be hard. And then some steps that you can try. You can articulate why you are talking about joy in work. Again, give them the context behind what's going on and why you would like to do this. You can talk about your commitment to working together to make daily life better for everyone. Emphasize that this is about ongoing improvement, not a one-time or quick fix. And then you can use brief huddles in the work area to have conversations with as many people as possible. This builds inclusiveness. So very, quickly when people have time and you're passing through or something, you can have a quick conversation about, maybe a change that you made. Hey, how is it going? What do you guys think? Or, different things like that. And then you want to build on assets and bright spots. So this is some things you can do for that. You can ask staff members to share why they decided to work in nursing or healthcare, what makes them proud to work here, what matters to them in their work, what is the most meaningful or best part of my work. So those are some great questions to get that conversation started on the bright spots of work and things that you can build on and improve in other areas. Take those, bright spots and maybe move them to other areas, and just get a conversation started. So what you don't want to do in this context is assume all team members will understand what you're talking about immediately. They are often not used to being asked what matters. So just make sure that that's why it's good to maybe start the conversation, something that you are feeling. And just don't assume all will feel safe talking initially. Sometimes they, just maybe haven't had the best experience at work or are just more quiet and don't feel safe. So make sure you're just creating that safe zone for everyone. And then don't speak for others. Let everyone have a chance to talk. Don't, again, don't assume. And don't mandate participation. Instead, welcome and invite it. I would say just making sure people know, hey, this is just a conversation. You can participate or not. If you don't have anything to add, that's fine as well. But we hope that, after a while you will feel more comfortable participating, or maybe they would prefer maybe more of a one-on-one conversation versus talking maybe in the team huddle. And then steps to try. Choose one question to get started, then listen and invite others to comment. So really don't have to go through the questions, just kind of give time, give people time to absorb and to find out what they might want to say, listen and invite others to comment. I'm an internal processor, so sometimes that would be, maybe I would want to speak at the end of the meeting, or we can come back to it the next meeting as well for anybody who had anything to say about the last question. Maybe they thought of something in the past meeting. Make sure to ask follow-up questions and clarify statements. So using that active listening, making sure you're really understanding what people are saying. And point out when bright spots are similar, so you can identify themes and things that people are saying, and maybe create a great new brainstorming concept of maybe something that can be done, because these things are all very similar, and you're hearing themes. So it's great to have this brainstorming session with the whole team there. And then capture what you are hearing so it is visible and post it in a location so all can see. So I love that because I'm a visual learner as well. I like to read things. So, writing down, maybe somebody can take notes that day for each meeting and you just have a board where that is all kept, and so every time you're coming back to the next meeting, you have those there so people can see it, and maybe comment on it or say, oh yeah, I didn't think of this last time, but now that I see it, I have another idea. So that was the first step. That's really just how to start the conversation, how to ask people what matters to you in the workplace, what brings joy and work to them, starting on that bright note and the assets versus just going negative, because the negative will naturally come out and come about. You're going to have a little bit of that, of course, but, I think trying with some of those questions that they gave as examples are wonderful ways to start the conversations and to get some ideas from people when you're trying to make improvements and create change in the workplace. So I really think those are some good tools. And if you missed the first two videos, I would definitely recommend going back, getting those review tools on the psychological safety, communication. We went over the framework a little bit and how to create the team. So make sure you take a look at that. And then the next video, again, we'll just move on to step 2 and continue the conversation around joy and work. Again, make sure you check out the IHI website and the NACHO website. They have some great information on there. Of course, the toolkit, as well as a bunch of videos and more information on the Joy and Work framework and the Joy and Work toolkit. You can visit our website at code-cares.org or cdphe.colorado.gov/co/cares. And our email is cdphe_healthcareworkersupport@state.co.us. You can scan the QR code to find more information on our website. And thank you so much for watching our video today. We really appreciate it. Take care.